talking about the blood sugar reset versus the blood sugar redirect. And it's going to be a fun episode chatting about kind of what you need to know before you dig into your blood sugar so you know where to start. And where you're starting is actually beneficial to you instead of wasting your time. If you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Vandevecht, certified master fitness trainer and nutritionist. All things blood sugars is what we're talking about here. And I have type 1 diabetes, which makes me cool. So hopefully you're cool like me. Actually, I shouldn't say hopefully. I hope you don't have type 1, but let's be honest, if you're here, you probably do. And so, just like me, today we're talking about how we can get our blood sugars to cooperate a little bit better. But give me a 1 in the chat to make sure that we can hear, and we'll move into our conversation for today. So give me a 1 in the comments in the chat. When I start seeing some 1s pop up, then we know that we're good to go. Give me that, and I'll double check on our visual as well. Looks like we are, I believe we're live. Cool. So there's the 1s popping in. Love it. We got Lori on YouTube. We got Facebook. Everyone is here. Fantastic. So as we're looking at what is most useful for us with our diabetes, everyone's in a different spot. And that's the fun part about these lives that I do every week, is that we get to walk through a lot of different scenarios. And sometimes it's really hyper specific to where you're at. And sometimes it's more helpful for where you're going to be in the future. All right. It's a new problem that you might have with blood sugars. Maybe it's a holiday conundrum where you're like, how do I deal with all the sugar-free stuff? And do I bolus for that? And sometimes it's summertime and it's time to travel, right? And you got to figure out traveling and diabetes. But today we're talking about more of a macro scale, a big picture. Is it the blood sugar reset that you're in need of, or is it just a blood sugar redirect? And how do those differ? What are we going to look at? And today we're going to start off with a story. So kicking things off, you may or may not have noticed I got a fresh cut. I got a haircut today. And thank God, it was getting kind of out of control. And so went in for a haircut, and while I was getting my haircut, someone says, you have a reversed image today. That's interesting. I usually sound like that. But while I was getting my haircut today, I had this thought about blood sugars. I was like, you know what? This ties in perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and just talk about this today. Because when you go in for a haircut, in most cases, you're not going in for like, let's just change everything up. I want a mohawk today, right? Usually it's like, oh, same thing, right? And of course, I went into the hairdresser, and I've gone to her before. Actually, she's friends of the family, and she's like, we're doing the same thing. And I was like, yep, same thing. Like, same thing you always do. It always looks good. So let's just go with what we know, right? And oftentimes with our blood sugars, it's just a matter of kind of fine tuning and tweaking little aspects of our blood sugar. It's usually, I'm not going to say always, but it's usually, let's tweak this one thing, right? I'll get on calls with people, and I do these consultation calls with type 1s who apply to work with us. And sometimes we fix their problems on that call, which is great. That's better for them because it's just a quick fix. And obviously, if it makes sense, there's longer fixes to actually get to the root of the problem. But sometimes those quick fixes are simple redirects. Sometimes we just got to look at our habits. It's like, why do I go high after every meal? Oh, I stopped pre-bolusing entirely like 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, you should probably be doing that, right? Like that would be beneficial, right? And like, well, yeah, my doctor said I should do it too. I'm like, okay, then why not start there, right? And it's just like a kind reminder that sometimes it's just a redirect. It's quite simple in some cases, and when sometimes we even know what we need to be doing, we're not doing it, right? We don't have the accountability, and that's another reason that sometimes people would jump into our programs, is they know what they need to be doing, but they don't have anybody to keep them accountable. Someone to kind of nudge them in the right direction, like, come on, you should be doing this, right? But there's so many habits that we know we should be doing that serve us similar to a haircut, where it's just, just a little off the top, a little trim here, kind of shape it up, right? I just want to get back to looking good and being my best. And with our blood sugars, it could be as simple as, I just got a pre-bolus. Oh, I haven't been counting my carbs. Oh, I haven't been dosing for snacks. As long as they're under 15 grams, they don't count, right? It's like, where did I get that from? What false belief have I been, living out for so many years that's been causing me these roller coaster blood sugars? However, on the other side of the equation, sometimes we do require a reset. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that the entire diabetes management needs a reset. But I'll give you an example. Many years ago, in a far distant life, I used to do some modeling and acting, right? And one of the first jobs I did, which when you're first starting out, you just say yes to whatever, because, you got to get your face out there. They bleached my hair, like all of it, my entire head, pure white hair. I was like, holy cow, what happened? Right. And part of me was excited. I was in college. So I was like, this is awesome. It's crazy. I have this, really loud hairstyle, which, if you guys can imagine me with bleach white hair, wild times. It was hilarious to see my mother's face when she first saw it, because I didn't tell anybody. I just showed up to church and she verbally shrieked. She acted, ah! She didn't know what to say. It was a wonderful time. But why, when I got that hairstyle, was I kind of freaked out? Because I was like, shoot, this requires a complete reset. You can't just bleach your hair and then go back the next day, right? Or you can, but it destroys your hair. And because for some reason my hairstyle or density or whatever was different, they had to bleach it 5 times to get the bleach to actually take and to be white hair. So when I went to reverse it, it wasn't just going in for a simple trim and just like, oh, just a little off the top and shape it up, right? It was like, no, we have to go through an entire process to get your hair back to quote unquote normal. And even still, you're going to look like a bleach blonde surfer dude for the next 6 months. Like, it's a process. You're going to have to grow your hair back out, and eventually it'll be cool. So with our blood sugars, sometimes it does require a process, right? Sometimes it requires a full plan of reset to get things back on track. And so kind of looking at this, I realized that, there's 2 different tracks. One is I just need to trim, right? I just need to redirect my blood sugars, get them back on track. I know I've kind of fallen off the wayside. It's time to get things back in line. Oftentimes, this kind of person has numbers, their blood sugars that are decent, right? Like, your doctor is probably not mad at you. You're like, hey, good enough. High five. Have a great day. But you recognize that it's still kind of a lot more effort than you'd like. You're always checking on blood sugars, take a little insulin to get the high to go back down, a little bit of sugar to get the low to come back up. And you're always redirecting and putting a lot of effort into the management itself in order to get those numbers, right? So oftentimes this trim, this haircut of diabetes, the redirecting of our blood sugars is usually required of us to fine tune our settings, to fine tune our insulin to carb ratio, our bolus strategies, our pre-bolus timing. Somebody asked why less than 15 grams does not count. Great question. I was making fun of that because that's what I was told when I was first diagnosed. Hey, if you have less than 15 carbs, you don't have to worry about dosing for it, which is false. You do. You definitely do have to count your carbs and dose for them. I was just kind of making fun of the situation because I was told that. So some people, and you might be hearing this thinking, yes, this is me, just need a redirect where you're looking at your blood sugars and you're like, yeah, on paper they're fine, but it's a lot of work to keep them there, right? When my hair was longer, I had a lot more effort that went into it. I had to actually brush it and actually style it. And now I just run my fingers through my hair. It's short enough where it's super simple. It just kind of falls into place. And that's what you want your blood sugars to be like. It should not be this massive effort of maintaining blood sugar control just to get the numbers to look good. Like, there needs to be a balance between, yes, blood sugars look good, but yes, I also get to eat what I want, have fun, play with the kids, play sports, live my life, right? You don't want to be a robot because that's not fun. However, other people need the full reset. And I was there, right? I told you guys a story. I had bleached hair that was bleached 5 times over. I needed a reset, but that process that was required, I had to go through, right? And so with blood sugars, oftentimes those who do need the reset are seeing roller coaster blood sugars all day long, and it's mysterious, where it's like, I ate and it just goes up. I don't eat and it goes up. Like, I don't know what to say. It does whatever it wants, and I'm not 100% sure where to go with this. So the time and range usually reflects that when you see a reset that's needed, right? Where it's, under 70%, you're having a hard time finding patterns because it doesn't seem like there are any. So just kind of using your own awareness of your diabetes, let's take a second to kind of think through, do I need to redirect? Like, I'm good on paper. It's mostly decent controlled, but I need to fine tune things. Or is it like, Matt, patterns? Are you serious? There's no patterns. I need to figure out why blood sugars are doing what they're doing so that I can start to establish patterns, right? So give me an idea in the chat. Comment either redirect if you feel like you just need to fine tune things, or comment reset or reset. Weird pronunciation. Comment reset if you feel like you just need a makeover. Like, hey, we need to clean the bleach out of the hair. We need to get back to our roots. And well, that was a double pun. And get back to blood sugars being in control, right? So kind of give me a thought of where you guys are at. Redirect versus reset. There's no judgment, but what I wanted to share with you guys is required that we know which one of those we are, right? Because we're at a different place, which means we have different paths in order to accomplish the end result, which is control, finding the balance between the blood sugars being controlled, but also the quality of life being present, not losing on that. While I'm waiting for you guys, we got a redirect there already. Awesome, from Mary Lee. Someone says, do you have a preference between the comments are coming in? You guys are awesome. Do you have any preference between the Omnipod or the most recent Tandem model? Great question. I am actually in conversation with both companies right now, trying to make that decision for myself. So right now, see if you guys recognize this one. It's connected to me. So there's one pro or one con actually. So I'm on Tandem right now. However, I might be making a switch in the near future. We shall see. I don't know yet, so I'm not going to speak too much to that. But I would say there are pros and cons to every device. There is no perfect device for everybody. We got a redirect from Lori. Awesome. We got a redirect coming from Bill. Redirect from Mary. Fantastic. Seems like both, but guess redirect to understand the ups and downs. Awesome. And it's not to say that one's better than the other. Sometimes you had the 90%, but you've had a rough week and now you're at 30%. And you're like, what the heck happened? I need to reset to get back to where I was, right? And you were at a good spot. So understanding where you're at is important. We got, hey, Matt, I'm a type 1 and my A1C has been high lately. I was intimate the other night and had some difficulty performing. Could this be from poor blood glucose? It can be. Not my area of specialty, but blood sugars affect a lot. Like even non-diabetics need to be aware of their blood sugars. It's all inclusive. So people say like, is losing my hair because of my bad blood sugars? It could be. Is my weight because of my blood sugars? It could be, right? A number of things. So I would say that I wouldn't rule that out, but I would also say that with better blood sugars comes better functionality overall. So instead of saying, is blood sugar the reason I'm having trouble with XYZ, I would ask, where can I improve my blood sugars so it's not a question, right? Let's just cross it off the list and say, no, my blood sugars are controlled, so what else could it be, right? That's what I'm looking for. You got it. So much appreciated. So redirect seems easier. Yes and no. Reset, sometimes it's nice to have a clean slate, right? You just wipe it clean. You're like, that was wild. Let's fix things, right? Versus a redirect, you do have to dive in and fine tune. However, diving in and fine tuning, sometimes you get lucky. And the first thing you look at, you're like, oh, tweak, fixed, right? It does happen. Sometimes it's easier. So when you want to look at different strategies, you got redirect versus reset. They're going to come with different paths, as I had mentioned. And these are oftentimes the two paths that we come across on the consultation calls that I see, that I talk to people on. So when we're crafting plans, it's usually a question of, are you looking for easier management, but you know what you need to do, versus I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying really hard and it's still not working, right? So this is a large topic that we're going to be covering in the next newsletter, actually, looking at January, February, the beginning of a new year, a lot of New Year's resolutions. These are the types of topics that I'm looking forward to covering. But I want you guys to understand that as you're building out your diabetes plan, as you're looking at what do I focus on next, if you wear a CGM, I want you to start counting the times you go up out of range and the times you go down out of range and mark them. Get curious about those specific plots on the graph where it's like, okay, why did I go high though? Was it not enough insulin? Did I not pre-bolus? Did I not count my carbs properly? Did I stop being active? Maybe I haven't worked out in a week, right? What could have led to that high blood sugar? Now, the lows are a bit easier to kind of pinpoint, right? It's like, okay, was it too much insulin? Okay. Was it too much exercise without strategies being implemented? Okay. Was it, and it's like 4 different things that lead to lows, but the highs are a bit more mysterious because there's a lot more things that can lead to high blood sugars, right? But what you can do to start that process is to get curious about when you go out of range, when you go, out and up or out and down. That's where you want to start your journey. And if you count more times out of range during the day, that's a good sign that you can make more changes during the day versus more times out of range at night. Most of us at night, see it go one direction and stay there. It gets stubborn, right? If you go high, it stays high for hours. It's like crap. You wake up and you feel sick. You don't get a good rest. And the overnight is largely the first place that I would look to make adjustments. So if you're resetting or redirecting, if you look overnight, I want you guys to think about this. Overnight, ideally, should be 7-8 hours of sleep, right? Now, I'm guilty of not getting enough sleep, but I'm going to blame that on also being a new parent. Last night, I got like 5 hours of sleep. But if you are getting, let's say, 7 or 8 hours of sleep, that's a third of a 24-hour period of time, right? It's a third of your day. So if you can stay in range for a third of your day, not only do you wake up feeling refreshed and happy and I'm happy to start my day, but you're guaranteed a minimum of 33% time in range. Little hack for you, right? So a couple different things to look at there, but as you're looking at your own strategies, understand that if you need to reset, it's going to look different than if you're just redirecting. Redirecting comes down to more of analyzing the information you have, and a reset comes more to understanding the information laid out in front of you, where it's like, okay, what does that stuff mean? And then the second one for redirect is like, I know what it means, but like, why did it do that? Getting curious, right? So it comes down to understanding the information versus analyzing and interpreting the information. Does that make sense? I hope that's helpful. So Lori says, was all over the place during doing a little now, but had lows overnight. Gotcha. Someone else on Facebook, let's see what we got. Bill says 5.7 A1C and 95% in range during the last 6 months using your strategies. Let's give Bill a round of applause. That is awesome, Bill. That's fantastic. So it's great example. Bill took action, right? And it's not like there's a magic fix. Bill says using your strategies, which means he used the strategies. He actually put them into practice. So way to go, Bill. A lot of people just take in information and they're like, this will help because I know stuff. And it's like, knowing stuff doesn't do anything for you, right? And it took me a long time to learn that. I read all these books and it's like, now what? It's like, well, shoot, Matt, you got to actually do the things that you read about. And then you can implement to see the actions being taken. So everybody, I see some likes coming in and everyone's liking for Bill. That's fantastic. 95% time in range. I love it. So I want to leave you guys with that. Just something to ponder today, but also to think about your next steps. Are you at a space right now? We'll go back to the haircut analogy. Do you need to go in, just get a trim like I did today, tighten everything up? Or do you need to go in and just reset the whole mess? You bleached your hair and you're like, crap, now I need to go back and just reset the whole head of hair. So with your blood sugars, if you're in a spot where you think, okay, it's been roller coasters all day, all night, I can't figure out why things are happening. It feels mysterious, right? Like I can't name why that spike happened. Then you're probably in the reset phase where you need to understand a bit more about what's going on. Like understand the graphs between why blood sugars are going up and down. And the other side of things, if you realize you're more in the redirect phase where your control is decent, right? But it's not as good as it could be, then you just need to redirect, fine tune. You got to open up the hood, right? Look around for the engine. What is going wrong? I found it. Okay, now it's fixed, right? And we can kind of tweak it. Then you're focusing more on analyzing, but that requires that you already have the understanding. So sometimes we get to a place where we have decent control by accident, and that oftentimes comes from restriction, right? An entirely different conversation. But a lot of times us as diabetics, we're told, hey, limit your carbs, don't do any crazy exercise, be careful when you're traveling, like don't have fun basically, right? And that alone can get us to a place where we are pretty well controlled, right? Consistency yields consistency. Diabetes loves consistency, but we feel trapped. So sometimes you can get to the place where all you need is to redirect, but you skipped over the foundations of the reset. So you were never able to build off of the reset knowledge to then analyze that knowledge. So sometimes it is even helpful to force ourselves backwards to the reset phase just to reset the whole thing. So you know what? System reset. I got to figure out diabetes from scratch and then build from there. You will actually build a stronger foundation of knowledge, which will enable you to adapt more spontaneously. So you're able to have those days where you're like, I want to go out to dinner with my family and just pig out on never-ending pasta. Go to, what's that place called? Olive Garden. Go crazy. And you'll be able to because you have the foundation set from your reset. that enables you to analyze what was going on and then develop those strategies to redirect in the moment, right? And we talked a lot about that in the Fix My Blood Sugars challenge. If you weren't part of that, you can Google it. I think it'll probably show up on Google. Fix My Blood Sugars is where we helped people to get to their first day of 90% in range or better. Super fun challenge. People were rocking it. It was amazing. But understand that you can put a Band-Aid on something, get to 90%, and still not know the foundations of what you're doing with your blood sugars. So all of us, this is a reminder to myself as well, should take time every once in a while to go back to basics, foundations, hit the reset button and go, okay, what was I missing? Like, what have I been glossing over that would be helpful for me to revisit, reset, and then go back and rebuild, right? Wow, there's a lot of R words. Reset, rebuild, revise, redirect. I love it. So as you're crafting your plan, yes, pick one, right? Redirect, reset. Where am I at right now? But realize that everybody at one point or another would benefit from the reset. So you can find all of the foundational tools to then build that stronger foundation and enable yourself to adapt to different blood sugar situations, right? And of course, if you're able to do that, it opens up freedom to go out to restaurants, to travel the world, to play your favorite sports, and all sorts of stuff. So never underestimate the power of knowledge that is then implemented. As Bill just shared with us, right? Bill's got 5.7 A1C and 95% time in range using the strategies that you're learning about right here. So congrats to Bill for actually putting the work in. I love that. We got someone in the chat says, off topic, but after checking your content and advice out for a few months ago, I got observant with my blood sugars and has gotten me my 2 best A1Cs ever. Showed me just trying to fix it can make a difference. Way to go, D. Awesome. That is fantastic. Another round of applause on YouTube. This is amazing. So again, just showing us that if you guys put the work in, you will see improvement, right? Like, so much of this is simply effort and awareness. But if you get to a place where you're feeling like you're burnt out on the effort, because that is certainly a possibility where it just feels like you're spinning your tires in the mud, right? And you're not getting to where you think you should be with that effort. Diabetes doesn't have to be this crazy, all-encompassing, super difficult disease. If you're able to build the foundational knowledge and then find the systems, and that's why we teach formulas, right? In order to get the blood sugars controlled, you can kind of step back a little bit and just kind of check in every once in a while. Let it run itself for the most part. You know, it gets to a place where you can let your blood sugars cruise. And you check in every once in a while, you're like, all right, we're still good. Cool. Back to fun, right? And that's what I want for you guys. So, see what we got else on YouTube. Lori says, spoke to a diabetes nurse. She really did not share much. That's frustrating. I just spoke with somebody else today who said their medical team has been largely unsupportive and unhelpful. It's way too common. It's very frustrating. So I want you guys to understand that if you take this into your own hands, you're likely to see better success. Do your own research. Be cautious, obviously. Like, don't be reckless with any changes that you make. But if you're able to learn more about your disease, it empowers you to make the changes necessary. And obviously, you're surrounded by our community here. You can ask questions. You know, obviously, we have our program where we guide you through things handheld. Like, hey, come on, we're going to walk you through this. But you can do your research. And if you've got the time, search it. Just be careful with the conflicting information you might find out there, because there's some dangerous stuff as well. I want to give you guys that heads up. Anyways, I hope this one was helpful for you. I hope that you're able to identify, do I need to reset or do I need to redirect? Because that's going to shift how you approach your diabetes in the next week, month, year, as you're looking for, do I need more information or do I need more understanding of how to analyze the information, right? And that's going to help you get on track, get your blood sugars a bit more stable. And from my goal, which I assume most people want as well, is more freedom with their diabetes, more abilities to have flexibility with the diet, with the exercise, with living life, right? And of course, we shared this over on our Instagram today. We've actually got some new spots available for our newsletter. We actually have a printed newsletter. It's called the Renegade Warriors newsletter. In fact, give me the word renegade in the chat if we got some subscribers in here. I know we got a couple people in these groups, but give me a renegade for those of you who are part of that. And what we usually do is we send out a newsletter to your doorstep once a month. So at the beginning of each month, we send it out filled to the brim with new strategies, topics. This last month, I actually talked about how I dose for pizza, specifically like how I do it step by step, and stayed in range, which was super fun. We got a renegade in the chat on YouTube. I love it. And then I also shared the 7 stages to diabetes freedom. The stages that we have walk people through on our programs, what you have to do in order to get these things figured out. And in those stages, of course, was the reset, the redirect, and looking at how you can implement those things. Another renegade from Facebook. Awesome. I knew there's a couple of you guys in here. From Joe. Cool. So think about where you're at. What do I need right now? Do I need to completely overhaul everything and just go back to basics and foundations? Would that benefit me more? Or do I need to peel apart the layers of my CGM graph, right? Look at where I'm dosing incorrectly, where I'm counting incorrectly, where I might be making false assumptions or have bad habits in place. And maybe just a slight redirect is going to enable me to fix it in that moment, right? So I want you guys just to use that as your homework for today. Of course, if you wanted to get into the Renegade newsletter, like I said, there's a couple of spots left. You can go grab that. Just tell us where to ship it at renegadenewsletter.com. You go over there. It explains more about what it is. It's a whole video of me talking about why we made it and what it's all about. It's pretty cool. So renegadenewsletter.com. And thank you guys so much for hanging out. Love these lives with y'all. And we're getting closer to the Christmas season. So we'll start building up some strategies for that as well, and talking about our New Year goals as we get closer to the new year. So thanks, guys, for hanging out. Appreciate all of you. Good seeing you in the comments. Go ahead and smash the like button for me so people know to come watch these. It certainly helps the algorithms to know that people are actually watching them. And let me know how I can help. I'm here for you guys. All right. So have a great rest of your day. Think, reset, or redirect. Where am I going this week, this month? How can I improve? Keep on working on yourselves, guys. It's a never-ending journey. I'm doing it too. I'm right here with you. So have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you guys next time, every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And have a great rest of your day. Keep up the fight. I'll see you guys next time.